Hello, everybody. I'm Bobby Ross, editor of the Christian Chronicle, and we have Hamil Harris, one of our great correspondents, here today to talk about an event you covered yesterday. Brother Hamil, what can you tell us about what happened in Baltimore on Friday, on Juneteenth?
Well, on Friday, first of all, a lot of people probably not aware of Juneteenth, which is the last group of slaves in Texas that became aware, contacted that they were free. And so in the wake of everything that's been going on, as you know, there have been a lot of marches, a lot of protests across the country. Well, what was unique about Baltimore is we had ministers from the Church of Christ who organized an event that was part listening session, part tutorial, and part the opportunity for people to be able to protest. Now, a lot of times people see protests as, wait a minute, they're going to destroy property or whatever. But this was like the First Amendment for them to be able to protest against the police and things like that. And so what happened is that there was a protest. Again, let me start again. Hold on one second. There was a protest, and they started in the War Memorial parking lot, and they went to the park, and they walked about 2 miles. It seemed like forever because I walked too. And they were able to talk about Black Lives Matter, talk about other things. But what was different with this protest is not only did they march and they had a rally, but it was really an outdoor church service. And you had ministers who had a chance to preach. They had singing. They had a lot of support. And the people joined in who had no affiliation with the Church of Christ. You had about 30 or 40 members of congregations, not just in Baltimore, throughout Maryland, who came down, black and white. But as they walked to the Inner Harbor, to Fells Point, you had people joining in. And they joined in, and they were able to sing and have stuff. And you had sermons. And as a result of those sermons, it was interesting. You had people sitting down and listening to the word of God. Police were there, they even had a helicopter, but it really was a calming thing. And I think that's the first time, and again, Brother Elmer Assembly of the Woodlawn Church of Christ talked about doing this. And he said, historically, we haven't done a lot of, these are the Black African-American congregations, have not done a lot of things like that, have not participated. And they did do it, and they said, this is just the beginning. This is something that was an event, but they wanted to have a teaching opportunity, building relationships. As you know, I work as a chaplain with the Baltimore Police Department, and it was kind of awkward for me because I didn't know whether I was working or what I was doing, but people understood it. So again, it really was a living example of going to the world, and it was peaceful. There was very little disruption, and again, I've been in a lot of protests in the past month, more than my whole life. And sometimes what happens usually in Baltimore, it starts off peaceful, but by the nighttime, the bricks come and you have the people that's tearing up stuff mix in with folks who want to do the right thing. So again, that's kind of what happened. And I thought it was a good start for objectives, but I thought it was interesting. It were younger people, there was a cappella music, and people who just wanted to listen. They also had health things and screening. So again, I thought it was interesting.
And so you were able to get some exercise as well as cover the story yesterday.
Man,
Sounds like
I got so much exercise. I realized that young folks walk faster. You know, they move quicker. Because, you know, in those days, I met the civil rights guys who like 70, 80, they would walk from like the Lincoln Memorial or somewhere to the Capitol or to the Lincoln Memorial. And then they were saying, we shall overcome and things, and that would be it. But nowadays, those young folks, they need to learn the script about marching. You walk slow behind senior citizens. These folks were sprinters. I knew we were in trouble when I saw folks with nice tennis shoes and were moving in spandex, and they were moving, boy. It was like, I think they thought it was a marathon or something. And so some of the older folks, in fact, one minister, Brother Hubbard from District Heights, told me, I said, because I was falling out. He says, I'm not leaving you. I said, but you got to speak. So I had to keep going. It's funny, like we preached this morning about Galatians 5:6, but don't grow weary for doing good. Well, I know myself was a little weary, but I was heartened because I saw so many brothers and sisters, again, of multi-races. And I really think, Brother Bobby, that now people are getting tired of just protesting, some of them. They want solutions. They want to engage. And I thought it was really good that you didn't have to worry about a Hammond organ and all the instrumental music. People were just able to sing, and beautiful music. And, so again, I just thought that this is something that could grow. I said could grow. Because again, not everybody was out there.
Uh-huh.
So
in the pictures that you took yesterday, I noticed it was black people and white people there. Were those white church members that were participating in the event?
Most of the people, most of the non-African Americans were. Fells Point is kind of like Yuppieville, a lot of young families and stuff. And I don't think they were members of the church. They were there and because they were right underneath their windows. I mean, that part of Fells Point is right on the water. You got boat shots. It's not that cheap. And it was really interesting. I could see them having the Fells Point Church of Christ there. But it was interesting. I saw a lot of medical residents. Baltimore's a medical town. A lot of young doctors getting off with their families. And they could have easily gone into the house. But a lot of them sat down on the steps.
But so these were people who saw what was happening and kind of joined in, as opposed to being church members who came. Are there not white church members there, or did they just not? Not a part of this event.
Yeah, it wasn't even like some of the main, some of the larger African American congregations. You had people, you had individuals, but you did have about 5 ministers that were there, and also one of the organizers was a female who had experience in this. And I think what they did that was good is they admitted we're not experts in these events. This is not what we do, but we're willing to keep an open mind about it because of Christ. And I thought this is new areas for the Church of Christ. They're not used to doing stuff like that.
Why do you think now? Why did they choose Juneteenth, and why did they choose this particular moment in history to do something like this?
I think the country is looking at this Juneteenth. A lot of people in the African American community, they're like, the slaves were freed in D.C. or Maryland in November, and some in January, New Year's. This was not, watch night started because of the freeing of the slaves, and people were waiting for the new year. Now in Texas, it was like 2 years and some change, And so what's amazing is for some reason, the University of Maryland, College Park, they gave half a day off for state workers. There's legislation now in Congress that make this a national holiday. So what you see is the evolution of Juneteenth that come out of nowhere. I don't think people. So can you see? I'm sorry, I had an interruption.
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Okay, we're back. You'll be edit this down. But again, what you're seeing now is something that we've never seen before. Even Donald Trump saying he's taking credit for kind of reviving or to creating this Juneteenth experience because he was speaking at Tulsa, Oklahoma, I guess near you in Oklahoma somewhere, and now he changed it to Saturday instead of yesterday. So it's interesting that history is still being written, history is going forward, and we're really in new territory. For example, Brother Samuel Pounds, he's an evangelist, always does the alphabet, preaches across the country. Well, he told the crowd, I flew in just for this. And so another thing that I know, remember, we've been in Zoom world. Nobody's been meeting in congregations. All of a sudden, I've seen more outdoor services. I mean, I was at the White House last week in Lafayette Square, and you had the William Barber over the Poor People's Campaign, and all these bishops, they're out there talking, and they seem to enjoy it. So I think you're seeing something happening where on the short order, people just glad to speak to a group. In terms of going forward, we don't know.
Great. Well, Brother Hamil, thank you for that update, and hopefully everybody will read your story and find out all the details about what happened. Appreciate it.
That's right. In the Christian Chronicle.
Yes, sir.
Again, it's a pleasure, and I love the Chronicle. Thank you so much.
Thank you.